Maybe I'll get to my second one to go there too.
How old is your second?
As a senior, we're got everything in.
Fingers
now
crossed.
we're just waiting. Nothing
senior?
left to do but wait. Yes, my middle guy. So, yep, I was
And he
happy when
applied
that
to
was on.
Wisconsin
He
as well.
did. It's tough. It's a hard one to get into these days.
Where did he apply?
My older one's at Wisconsin. My
Okay.
middle guy also applied there. He wants to do like Big Ten business school thing. So far, we've heard from MSU and Iowa and Mizzou, and everyone else is like December or January announcements. Those guys were rolling, so they kind of tell you faster.
Yeah, U of I was late when Timmy applied. Like it came later.
I think they're like end of January.
They released late.
Oh well,
Yeah.
nothing we can do.
No. Oh gosh.
It was Dad's weekend at U of I this weekend.
Fun.
It was good. I
Did you
stopped by.
go?
I stopped by. I was on a college visit with Hannah at UK, and we had to come back through Champaign to go to Bloomington for the state volleyball champion.
Oh,
Ben
gosh.
Bennett played in the state volleyball champion. So I'm like, we're going right by Champaign. Let's stop and see the boys. So stopped by.
That's awesome.
Oh, state volleyball championship.
Yeah, they lost to Mother Macaulay though.
Oh.
Yeah, but some of Hannah's friends are still on the team. She played freshman year. But, she's not playing. Yeah.
That was nice to go watch.
Yeah, it was.
I
nice.
just saw the
But it didn't
lineup,
get
yeah.
over until midnight.
Oh,
You think the IHSA could
What have rules?
They
schedule
were off to a horrible start.
They started playing
Yeah.
in like,
They're rolling
I
on
think they
through.
finished
Yeah.
their
Just getting enough
last
wins, right, to
match
get
at
in.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
anything happens.
Yeah.
or 11:30, and then they had to do the money ceremony.
Magical football power.
So
Yeah, they played St.
all these
Francis
people are
Saturday.
signing back to Chicago.
I think it might be the end of the road.
Most of them got
But
hotel.
the other side,
Ken and
the Holy
Timmy
One
drove back to
was
Champaign
Providence.
and finished out Dad's weekend.
Oh, that's fun.
It was fun, though.
That's another school that's amazing. Joliet Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm not like bragging, but you know, Fred's soccer team won state.
Oh yeah, they did awesome.
They did,
Second,
but-
right?
Yeah, they got second. But we were laughing because
just talking high school.
it was at Hoffman Estates, and everyone's like, "How come it's not downstate?" I'm like, "I
Not
don't
the
know."
Friars,
Everybody
though,
keeps
yeah.
asking
Well,
that.
I'm glad it was Hoffman Estates than Julia or
Honestly,
something.
I don't
so
think
great.
there's many.
They
soccer
started off
teams
really well,
down
and then
there.
they went the opposite
Yes.
direction. Yeah.
I did. I had just written myself a summary. No, I'm going to use yours. You had a whole thing about the
Sorry,
lefty,
there's-
so we should have coordinated.
I don't know where you're getting your information.
I don't know what you're I will. I'll coordinate with you earlier. Sometime. We don't do double work on me.
Oh yeah.
But what I was gonna say is, they were like so tight on getting everybody out and making sure everything was moving, and like the state championship was over. They're like, okay, everybody, like there was they like barely had like 5 minutes to like
see,
be here to
JJ McCarthy had like 40 less passing yards this week, and they're all like, see, they busted him on the calls. I'm like, come on.
The
40 yards is going to do it for sure.
The Division One or whatever it was, they did the ceremony right after.
I mean, they still have to have the available.
Anyway, they were.
That's
they were like,
legit. Exactly right. Yeah.
For that second
Watch the
night ceremony.
Just was excited to see my Boilermakers roll up 600 plus yards of offense against Minnesota after they got 500 the entire rest of this season. I think
That's a long about like.
it was brutal.
No, it's usually an hour, but there's more time in between.
Not good. My son and I are going for the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It's turned into a bit of a tradition. So
Yeah, I'm trying to do
go sit in the freezing cold, drink cheap beer.
I'm just trying to really kind of, right, I'm
It
trying
usually
to.
is.
That's what I'm wondering. Because
I'm glad it was Hoffman
we
State.
hosted
You could drive by.
That's my
my daughter's birthday party Saturday.
Oh yeah,
There's no like, there's not a lot of soccer.
even better. Yeah, it's,
Yeah, I'm sure.
no, when we were there 2 years ago,
That's why I'm doing it.
we had the full on
Because
parkas and everything. It was
It's
good.
not the same.
And then there's Town Beecher.
Not the same area.
There's this restaurant called Princess Cafe.
Is it
It's like this
Oh my
old
gosh.
supper
Well, that
bar.
would
Oh my God.
Yeah, prime rib, all that. You know. It's good stuff. Oh yeah.
Okay. So,
I got my cheat sheet.
oh, Amy's got it.
I got my
again.
cheat
He
sheet.
apologizes. He had something come up that he could not reschedule.
Okay.
She went with her.
I'm sorry. I thought he'd let you know that.
And so then also reading the,
Oh seriously?
we have the motion.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I have my cheat sheet on the motion. I got my other motions.
oh, we don't
I'm
actually
getting the
open
credentials. I think I'm getting the hang of
Yeah,
this
yeah.
program.
You're a
Took me a little while.
You're a pro.
It might still be slow.
Two
Might
meetings
still
and
be
you're a
slow.
Don't, just know, everybody has
That's
walked
like
in
this
those
place in
shoes.
Philadelphia.
And we
They
all,
don't open till I think.
don't you know
it's
that?
Staff included.
yeah, we're all like,
So
wait,
we're
wait.
Attorneys too.
No, you're the one who has to.
Waiting for this right
No, but I mean, I had to work on the shoes early on too.
Oh, okay.
So everybody has to learn.
Of course, it's like all the
Okay.
gray hairs are lined up. It's like,
Everybody ready? Yes. It's 7:01. Okay, very good.
Dan, ready?
Dan, ready? All right, very good. Thank you. All right. Well, good evening. Welcome to this November 13th, 2023 meeting of the Village of the Western Springs Village Board of Trustees to honor our nation's heroes and especially to honor the individuals who serve and protect our community. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Timick, may we have the roll call, please?
yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian.
Here.
Trustee Chen.
Here.
Trustee Fink. Trustee Lewis.
Here.
Trustee Naraki.
Here.
Trustee Terrell.
Here.
Thank you very much. With the reading of the agenda, does any trustee have any additions or deletions, any changes? All right, very good. Next then, any citizen comments? No? Nothing received? Okay. Very good. Then we're going to, in looking at the agenda, moving on to old business, and this is regarding the capital infrastructure, the report, the 90% report out that we had at our last meeting. I just wanted to clarify a couple points or just emphasize, I guess, some points about the infrastructure study and the possibility of taxes that was discussed. As we all know, we're nearly finished with what really is an unprecedented analysis and risk assessment of all of our current infrastructure issues, including roads, water, sewer, stormwater, sidewalks, lighting, and village facilities. Really, for the first time, we really are in a position to develop a multi-decade plan that considers our infrastructure needs and associated risks, the preferences, impacts, and inconvenience on residents and businesses, as well as the consequences of not addressing these issues. This analysis, it also provides us really an essential starting point for developing an informed spending choices for the long term. So with respect to funding and taxes, our first choice, is always to look at our current revenue streams, which include property taxes, sales taxes, our local share of state taxes, fees, and others, and to see what infrastructure projects could be addressed while trying to minimize any increases in fees or taxes. Of course, that's where we always like to begin. When issuing debt, a common financial practice used by local governments has been used in the past, specifically to fund roadway construction in 2008 and 2016. So we could issue debt again as an option to address the needed infrastructure funding. This is done by referendum vote, and the amounts needed annually to pay that debt service is included on the annual levy, which shows up as property taxes. So just to kind of be clear what we mean by all of this and what this leads to. But like by example, currently $1.7 million is included in the 2023 levy to satisfy existing debt service. So again, just kind of making clear that this has been and is a common practice used by governments. The potential debt issuance amounts and timing are not known, and we need to work through the scenarios and balance them against the project risks and timing. We always look for funding for other sources other than our taxpayers. However, I can't underscore enough the challenges in our bedroom community, 95% residential, and the limitation of our funding sources. As evident in the capital infrastructure plan study to date, The needs span our entire community. Everyone will benefit from projects on the list, and similarly, if we leave these unaddressed, everyone will feel the impacts of not addressing the required maintenance and improvement of critical infrastructure. The village continues to pursue grant funding. I think you guys have all seen it. We've seen a nice number of grants in recent months, which has been wonderful. But when those are applicable and available, but I think we also all understand even those often can require a pretty high cost local funding match is typically part of that. I'm sure like all of us, like I wish we had access to abundant funds from a source that does not directly impact our taxpayers. But we do not. Solving these issues, it is a community effort. It's not easy. It's our responsibility as a board and as staff to work with our residents in designing a plan that best solves our high risk and other infrastructure issues and fits our wallets. I look forward to the conclusion of the study and the subsequent funding analyses and the options. That's what I wanted to clarify. Anybody have any questions or comments? Anybody want to add?
I think it's very well said, and I do appreciate this is multi-decades that we are setting our footprint, our blueprint, so to speak, for the next 10, 20 years. And I would hope that all the members of the village would make every effort to read the full capital structure, infrastructure study when it is published. The 90%'s already online?
90%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we would all be informed of what we will have to face to keep our community the jewel that it is.
Yep. Yep. Thanks. Anybody else? All right. Very good. Then let's move on to the consideration of the next agenda items. We'll begin with a report from Trustee Avakian from the Properties and Recreation Committee.
Thank you. At our meeting, we kind of discussed the budget, which staff has done a very good job of keeping everything sort of where we thought it would be. A couple changes. They were moving around. There's two accounts. One is account number 4101100, and one is 410. Like I don't know how involved we need to get on the numbers, but they're doing some separation as far as a lot of things feed into different accounts there and how they're going to be allocating what money goes where, which is good. It's easier to track, easier to follow, easier to keep up with. We've had a lot of turnover, so there's an increase in some of the training that we've been needing to do, $11,700. We're in the second phase of the capital improvement plan, which is start of like the completion of the village hall and the public works facility space improvements with Williams Architects. That's $215,000. This is actually pretty cool. There's a new village forestry account. Well, I guess it's not new, but it's been increased. There's actually a group of residents that are coming together and putting together like a volunteer, like taking care of the trees program. So there's training through the Open Lands Tree Keeper program. So we are adding some money to train the residents that want to be involved with helping our trees, which is pretty cool. We had a sidewalk budget of $254,000 for the Forest Hills on Grand Avenue between 51st and 55th. That needs to be added to the sidewalk improvement. And those were kind of the main headlights of the budget, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so that was all great. And then next we have the Illinois Association of Park District, which is called IAPD, annual business meeting credentials. So I believe I need to propose, do I need to propose a, we're trying to.
It's on the agenda, it'll be on the agenda
On
for
the omnibus, okay.
next
So
meeting.
we're just putting down that Alex and Rita and Mike are gonna be our delegates attending that conference, which will be coming up on our voting later. And then we also have a resolution for approving our updated fee schedules for the Recreation Department activities and programming. Nothing is crazy increased, more minimum wage has gone up a little bit. programs are doing great, but there's just a couple little fee increases, so we'll be asking to pass the resolution to increase some of our program fees.
Great, all right.
Any questions?
Makes sense.
Anything else I missed?
I don't think so.
Okay.
All right. All right, very good. Then I understand you will also be reporting out for Trustee Fink tonight, Trustee Avakian, on the Public
Yes.
Works and Water.
Again, we did a nice budget meeting. I'll pull up the secret notes there. A lot of the conversation was about some of the trucks, some of the vehicles that we need that we have kind of discussed here a few times. We have an aging fleet. Prices have gone up since the pandemic. There's a dump truck that we had to budget for, but we're not getting it for another year. I think we've discussed kind of a lot of that stuff. So nothing really surprising for any of that. Anything you guys feel like is surprising that we need to bring up?
No, we just basically went over some of the changes that we presented from our September and October cycles. The big changes that we made from our budget presentation for this month is we did set up the new fund for the stormwater accounts, which is now online. We moved some of the proposed maintenance items out of our sewer item into the stormwater fund, and we addressed some of that during the committee meeting.
And then we have the second agenda here. Budget. Oh yeah, he just talked about the draft. So the item C is investing in the, the Public Works and Water Committee meeting held a public meeting during our last meeting to present the village draft's water quality monitoring report, which is due to the IEPA in December. Residents who wish to review the comment on the report can find it on the village website under the village NPDES page. And then following that, we're talking about the Invest in Cook 2023 Gilbert P2 Engineering Village and County IGA. So in March 2023, the village staff submitted a grant application to the 2023 Cook County Invest in Cook County, which is called IIC. The village sought Phase 2 engineering funding for the Gilbert Avenue STP resurfacing project from Ogden Avenue to 47th. And the county informed the village that the county was selected for the application for funding, and that the village would be awarded $55,000 of funds, which is great. And I believe LaGrange also got some for the other half of the street, right?
Is that correct? Yeah.
So we have funded approximately 50% of the cost, and we will split the other
And then we got
half
25
with
with
LaGrange.
LaGrange. So that was great news, speaking of when it's nice when you actually win a funding concept. And then, let's see, enclosed in the agenda packet is a copy of the IGA needed to receive the funding. Staff and the village attorney have reviewed the IGA, provided comments to Cook County, and at the same time, we are recommending the village board approve the IGA. Any questions there?
That's good. Good news.
And then the Burlington Avenue bump outs, Baxter and Woodman design engineering proposal. In an effort to accommodate outdoor dining and improve pedestrian safety on Burlington Avenue in the Central Business District, staff is recommending the construction of 2 bump outs and 1 mid-block pedestrian crosswalk to be completed. The bump outs and the crosswalk were a recommendation from the 2016 Downtown Revitalization Plan. I think they've just kind of been passed down the road a little bit. But in order to properly construct the bump outs, engineering plans need to be developed. Staff is recommending the village retain Baxter and Woodman Consulting Engineers, called B&W, to complete the engineering design. B&W is currently preparing a Phase 2 engineering plan for the resurfacing of the section of Burlington Avenue as well, which makes them the ideal candidate to help complete the bump outs while they're doing the resurfacing all in the same area. So funds are available in the South TIF Fund to facilitate the completion of the engineering design for this project. And the proposal from B&W for the engineering design of the project has the cost of the work not to exceed a fee of $29,155. Okay. Any questions there?
Thank you.
Next thing, the Spring Rock Waterman Engineering Amendment. Attached for the board's review is a memo and supporting documentation for a request to amend the engineering services agreement for the Spring Rock Park Water Main Replacement Project. Earlier this year, the village board approved two change orders to the project to accommodate additional 12 inches of water main that required, 12 feet water main that required replacement near the elevated tank, and for the replacement of the valve vault on near 7th Street at the southern termini of the project area that connected with the new storm sewer being installed with the Central Avenue reconstruction project. The changes ordered required additional engineering design and coordination work with the project contractor and the adjacent contractor engineer on Central Avenue, Christopher and Burke Engineering, CBEL, has included supporting documentation for their additional hours. So the Public Works and Water Committee met on September 7th and reviewed the change order request, and I'm going to recommend that the village board approve the change order in the amount of $13,717.50.
Great. We'll have that on the omnibus then? as well.
Yes. Do I do that now or later?
No.
Okay. Any other questions? That's all.
Very good. Thanks very much. All right, moving on to finance. Trustee Chen.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. The Finance Committee met last Wednesday, November 8th. And we discussed at length the items that I'm going to report out tonight. A few of them we're recommending to the full board. The first is the South TIF District expenditure, the project that you just talked about the bump outs for the dining areas and the raised pedestrian area on Burlington Avenue. We also reviewed those plans, and we recommend that we use TIF funds for this eligible expense, and we thought it was a great use of TIF funds for beautifying and making that area more usable for the public, for dining and pedestrians. So that's our first recommendation to the full board. The second is municipal purchasing cards and code amendment. I'm not going to go into great detail here, but right now the village only has one credit card that is used among many departments. The Finance Committee discussed the implementation of a new program, the municipal purchasing card, at its meeting. The committee felt that it was a great way to assist in financial controls and produce efficiencies. The Finance Committee recommends the needed code change and the associated agreements for the program, and staff reviewed many bank programs, and they recommended Fifth Third, which we agree, and we are recommending to the full board. Okay, 2023 property tax levy. The Finance Committee reviewed staff proposed levy at its November 8th meeting. There were minimal changes from the amounts previously discussed. The Finance Committee recommended that the board approve the levy in the amount of $10,637,700, which is allocated as $8,703,875 to the village and $1,933,825 to the Thomas Ford Memorial Library, which has no authority to levy a property tax. The village's total levy is 5.47% higher than the 2022 levy. The increase is attainable at the 2023 allowable increase per the Property Tax Extension Law Limit, PTEL, which is determined by the Department of Revenue's calculation of 5%. The village expects to capture the remaining 0.47% from new growth. Any amount requested over the actual new growth would be reduced from the total levy received. So I think we've gone over that, but there's just a few little things that we reviewed in the Finance Committee. And lastly, the 2024 budget. As other trustees are reporting out from their committees, each of the committees have reviewed their respective budgets, and the entire budget will be available to all trustees at the beginning of next week. The proposed draft budget will also be available online on the village's website on the finance page, and there will also be a hard copy available at Village Hall and the Thomas Ford Memorial Library for anyone interested to review. And that is all I have from finance. It's a lot.
All right, very good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Public Health and Safety, Trustee Lewis.
Thank you, President Rudolph. Our committee continued 2024 budget discussions during our meeting last week also, and a few items of note that I want to share. As we have previously discussed, all Western Springs police officers will be mandated to wear body-worn cameras starting on January 1, 2025. Consequently, we anticipate budgeting in 2024 for the purchase of 21 cameras. We also hope to purchase 8 in-car cameras that will be able to communicate with the body-worn cameras. We've received a state funding that will help offset much of the still to be finalized costs. The police department is also hoping to purchase 5 license plate readers in 2024 that will be placed around the village. The readers will capture license plate details and other identifying information about vehicles suspected of being used to commit crimes. The police department is getting a $56,395 grant from the Illinois Attorney General's office to purchase the license plate readers. The police department also plans to increase the number of sergeant positions from 4 to 5 next year. The new sergeant position will oversee the investigations division, which currently reports to the deputy chief of the police. The department's overall authorized staffing number of 21 sworn personnel will not increase, but it's hoped that the change will more evenly distribute the workload within the department. As for the fire department, Chief Kelly is hoping to add a part-time firefighter position to help with staffing during the day. We now have 1 part-time firefighter position, and the additional position will help tremendously with daytime coverage during the work week when many of our paid-on-call firefighters are unavailable due to their other job schedules. Some of the costs related to the new part-time position will be offset by less use of the paid-on-call firefighters. Also, the fire department reported that they had a very successful recruitment process here and anticipate sending 18 to 20 new members to the 2024 Fire Academy. The chief let us know that certain budget areas normally increase in years when we send recruits to the academy. We'll need some additional dollars for fire suppression and training personnel costs, uniform costs, and protective equipment costs. And the department is also hoping to budget for 8 new sets of firefighter gear in 2024. That gear we have on a 10-year replacement schedule, and if someone leaves within the 10-year span, we repurpose it within the department with someone else. Final numbers are still to be determined and all of that, but those are some of the expenditures that our committee is considering. And listed separately in our agenda, but also worth mentioning, is an item related to the village's work to secure a professional service license agreement with a licensed clinical social worker. We discussed briefly last month the social worker will be available to assist the police department when needed. The social worker may, for example, be used to help connect families in need with social service providers, or in some other cases, assist Western Springs officers on calls where mental illness may be a factor. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Not a question, but I'm delighted to hear about those body cameras. Chief Gihuli, I thought when those first came out that was going to all be on us. Was it a struggle to get that money, and are they covering most of the cost of the body cameras? And nice work getting the funding for it. I was kind of worried that we'd be having to fund them.
I think, is that Susie? We're getting Susie Glowiak, Senator Glowiak helped us obtain some of those funds. And the purchases are going to be spread out a little bit over time.
Oh, we don't have to have them all?
We don't have to have, we'll have the cameras, but we're going to finance it a little bit.
nice work on that, and I guess I'm thanking
Thanks to John.
And
Susan
Chief-
Glowiak.
Oh, sorry. Chief, is that by 2025, we have to have all?
Yes, by January 1st of 2025. We have to have it, so.
Also, too, just all the small staffing changes, too, I think really make a lot of sense. I think in both instances, they seem like those will be very valuable to serving the community and the residents, so. Some
We
good,
thought so too.
good, yeah, some good changes. Okay. All right, very good. Thank you very much. All right, planning and zoning, Trustee Naraki.
Thanks, Madam President, and thanks for coming to our meeting the other day as well. We got to get the inside scoop on planning and zoning there. I'm sticking with 2024 budget. The Community Development Department's 2024 annual budget was prepared and discussed at the Planning and Zoning Committee's meeting last Tuesday, November 7th. Finance Director Mastrodona and Community Development Director Budzikowski briefly presented the preliminary budget. The budget has similar assumptions to the 2023 annual budget, with some exceptions related to strategic planning projects in the downtown, some increases in professional services, and an additional funding request in the South TIF District in anticipation of some facade sign projects receiving grant funding for a new property improvement program, PIP, that could be approved by the village board later this year. Additionally, we had the Western Springs Little League has submitted an application requesting an amended conditional use permit and approval of 2 sign variations for the installation of a championship sponsor sign at Spring Rock Park. Western Springs Little League has received authorization from the property owner, Western Springs Park District, to submit the request for zoning relief and construct the sign. As background, the construction of the sign began earlier this year, and the work was stopped because a building permit had not been approved or submitted at that time. The sign is located right behind the right field fence of Piccolo Field and is approximately 275 square feet in area and 24 feet in height. The Plan Commission conducted a public hearing on October 25th, and the Western Springs Little League presented their request to the commission. At the meeting, 3 property owners were in attendance and voiced opposition to the sign request on the grounds of the sign size, height, aesthetics, and precedent for future sign installations in the park. The Plan Commission did recommend approval of the sign request with the conditions as follows. 1, the temporary side banners to be removed. 2, no illumination was permitted. 3, findings of fact to be incorporated. And 4, subject to the final ordinance prepared by the village attorney. The Planning and Zoning Committee reviewed the request last Tuesday, November 7th, and forwarded the petition to the village board this evening. So, kind of make it a bigger sign to show off what the good work that Western Springs Little League is doing and winning championships, and bringing that out so when people come to the park, they can see how good the program is doing, and refresh the sign. And you were there, President Rudolph, and Trustee Terrell was there as well, and it's going to look real nice. There's already tree coverage there, so it kind of fits in right where they already had signage. So with community outreach and talking, and everybody seemed satisfied with what the Western Springs Little League had come up with.
Anything further, Director Budzikowski, you want to add?
The only thing I'll add is I know Jeff Thede came in a little late. He's the president of Western Springs Little League. Probably signed in like I told him to, and he missed the comments section, so I don't know if he had any additional comments. I think he's really just here for kind of Q&A if necessary.
I don't have any additional comments at this point, but if anybody had any questions, I'm here to address them.
Yeah. Anybody else? Again, there were, it was good public hearing. A few residents, as you reported, expressed some concerns, and it sounds like those have been adequately addressed. I know we heard from a couple different people concerns over illumination there. Was that something that is not part of the plan, and it's not something that would be allowed? And also there was just a concern as to where that sign is, and if you're familiar with the park, it's pretty far away. Like you have to be well into the park to see it.
And the trees are taller than 24 feet from what, didn't I
Right.
say that? So it'd be nestled in
It's
front
nice,
of the
yeah.
trees.
Looks nice.
Yeah.
Right, Field?
Yeah, it'll be a nice addition.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us tonight. Okay,
That concludes my report.
very good. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to general government. Trustee Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. We discussed at length the 2024 budget, and I was going to ask Deputy Village Manager Casey Bernacki to go over some of the finer points, of which there were many. If you wouldn't mind, Casey.
Sure. Thank you, Trustee Terrell. Just a reminder, the General Government Committee oversees a number of budgets, mostly in the general fund. That includes the operating and capital budgets for the Board of Trustees, the Village Manager's Office, the Legal Services, IT Management, and Communications. I'll go through just a couple highlights from some of those budgets, and the remainder of our budget will be included in December with the rest of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2024. Out of the manager's office, staff is recommending the completion of a national citizen survey in 2024. The last one we completed was back in 2014. And the focus of the survey is really to gather resident opinion on community livability and the level of our governmental services. And that data can actually get collected and compared to other like-sized communities, both in Illinois and all over the United States, to see where we're ranking amongst our peers. Out of the IT management budget, we are proposing the replacement of some equipment here in the village boardroom, AV, audio and visual equipment in particular, to both improve the experience here at the board meetings, but also at home for anyone at the public that's watching. A lot of that, we hope that could be reimbursed through what's called the West Central Cable Commission. So that is something that we will certainly be pursuing as well for a full reimbursement there. Out of our communications budget, we are hoping to review multiple vendors for a potential e-newsletter, something that we can use coupled with our Tower Topics and our village website and social media to just continue to be able to push out information to the public, especially on things, new programs and services we're providing or existing programs and services. So we're looking at multiple tools to assist in that. And then lastly, in our legal budget, we're expecting a decrease in our labor relations line item. And that's mainly due to the fact that we have settled all three of our collective bargaining agreements here in fiscal year 2023. So we don't expect any bargaining of that level in 2024. With that, again, that's just a highlight of what you'll find in our proposed budget. The rest of any changes we have in those budgets and these included, you'll see in December along with the rest of the budget.
Thank you, Kate. If anyone has any questions about that, the other thing we discussed was the Paid Leave for All Workers Act. The Paid Leave for All Workers Act, otherwise known as, I don't want to mispronounce this, PLAWA, takes effect on January 1st of 2024. We are the third state in the nation to mandate paid time off, and the time off is for any reason, and we are the first state in the Midwest to do so. This is a state law, and it applies to every employee working for an employer in Illinois, with the exception of construction industry union employees and those workers in the parcel delivery industry. What the law provides for is that it provides employees for up to 40 hours of paid leave per year for any reason, and the reasons do not have to be documented to the employer. The leave begins accumulating at 1 hour of paid leave for each week of work performed. An employer cannot require an employee to find a replacement for the leave. The law does not distinguish between part-time, full-time, or seasonal employees, so anyone who is an employee in the state is entitled to this PLWA Leave Act. Well, part-time and seasonal workers wouldn't work as many hours as a full-time worker, so they would not, they have shorter periods to accumulate. Cook County has a paid leave ordinance, but municipalities are allowed to opt out of the county ordinance, although the employers opting out of the Cook County ordinance would be protected by the State Act. And finally, the employees are allowed to carry over a rollover for unused accrued sick leave time from 1 year to the next. In my reading through this, I could not find out how far you could stack that up, but that's at least part of the act right now. In Western Springs, we do value our employees, and we are glad that this law will provide them paid leave for emergencies to come up. And whatever else life throws at them each year, they'll have 1 week of paid leave per year without any reason needed. So hopefully that will be a good thing for all of our employees and help them with whatever comes up. So other than that, that would be all I have.
How does that intersect with or overlap or trump our current policies?
So our current policy does have some paid leave for certain part-time employees, but not all. And so we will be coming back through next month's cycle with an addition to our current paid policy that will then provide what the Act requires for those who weren't already covered. Our other employees who are full-time do already receive vacation time and other things, so that would be unaffected. But for certain individuals, such as our paid-on-call firefighters, who really don't need to take time off because they only respond when they're available, there was never a leave bank required for them. This Act does require us to come up with some means for providing paid leave. We are currently working with the Recreation Department on their seasonal workers who also previously did not receive leave. They will accrue, as Trustee Tyrrell said, that not quite as much as some other employees would because they only work a few weeks at a time during their seasons, but they will probably accrue a small amount over a summer and things like that. So our new policy that you'll see in the coming weeks will address those employees who are seasonal, paid-on-call firefighters, and a few others that are part-time that weren't otherwise eligible.
Do we also then too have sort of likely new just kind of administrative processes to track this?
We already have a process in place, so it will just work with that. It will require supervisors to put together some kind of a process, especially our paid-on-call firefighters. The chief's been looking at how we would handle that. There's still a lot of questions that we have posed to try to find out guidance on these specific areas. And though they did just release a rules edition, it did not address some of the things that we have sent in as questions. So Attorney Jerusik is working with us to develop the policy, and we'll do our best to meet the standard of the Leave Act and allow our employees the ability to earn and then expend. We just have a little bit of tweaking to do in terms of our process for some of the folks that like paid-on-call firefighters, where it really doesn't quite work the way it would work for anybody else.
Is that particular scenario, it is, the paid-on-call is somewhat unique. So I imagine it could be one that was sort of overlooked or in the process of writing.
I think
this.
there were several areas that weren't necessarily considered when this was drafted because they are so unique. But we, along with some of our neighboring communities, have this issue, and we've been talking to folks in Clarendon Hills, Hinsdale, Westmont, Grange Park. All of them use paid-on-call firefighters. We've talked with the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference. They've been working on some things with regard to this. So it is a little different. That one in particular is giving us a little bit of pause, but we will have a policy for the board to consider in the coming weeks.
Okay. And again, this is effective as of January 1.
January 1st, March 31st, I think, is when you can start drawing it. March 1st or 31st, one of the two. Yeah. Start drawing it, 90 days.
90 days. The act is effective in January. So we do have to amend our policy in December to have our amendments effective going forward. The other thing is there is a Cook County initiative, legislative initiative that tracks the state Paid Leave Act, but it does have some different wrinkles. And on, I believe, November 16th, the Cook County committee that's managing it is going to release some more information, so we'll have a better idea of what the full scope of that legislative amendment is going to look like. And so we are going to tie both of those together and give you a report in December to give you some direction as to, adopt this. This is, what we recommend, both staff and legal, to navigate at least the state act, and if county is in a position where we can make a definitive opinion, we'll also let you know what the next step would be, coming in compliance with the Cook County similar paid leave initiative.
Is this even though we can opt out of it?
That's something that we need to look at. That's why we're waiting until the mid-November, November
See what they-
16th
see what
to
they
see
put
what
out.
they,
Okay.
what the final language looks like, and if there is opt-out or language in there or not. So more to come.
Okay, and we've talked about the impact on the village, but this is obviously something that'll impact our businesses in town as well, and so we'll be looking to have that all clarified to help them as well.
It was the subject of conversation at the West Suburban Chamber of Commerce meeting this month. And I imagine our WISBA board meeting tomorrow, there will be some discussion about that as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. Very good.
That's all I would have on my committee.
Thanks very much. Okay. Moving on, I think we'll now be circling back to one of the items that Trustee Avakian mentioned in terms of the Baxter and Woodman Engineering Services Agreement. I believe we have a motion that you would like to propose.
I would like to propose a motion to approve ordinance number 23-3150 for approving and authorizing the execution of a proposal and a professional service agreement with Baxter and Woodman, Inc. for design and construction engineering services for the construction of the sidewalk bump out project at 821 Burlington Avenue and 909 Burlington Avenue, and authorizing certain expenditures from the Downtown South Tax Increment Financing District to pay for such services.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right. If not, may we have a roll call vote?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Trustee Terrell.
Aye.
Trustee Avakian.
Aye.
Trustee Fink is absent, so the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to reports. I have several reappointments and appointments to note this evening, continuing in the spirit we have over the last month or so. And I hope you all have had a chance, and if not, I would encourage you to just to take a look at all the various bios and CVs. We're really, with these and the others in the past meetings, we're really fortunate to have so many people in our village who volunteer for these positions. I was really impressed by reading all of these. So they do include the appointment of Sean Murphy as the chair of the Infrastructure Commission for a 3-year term to expire in June 2026. The reappointment of Thomas Kelleher as member of the Infrastructure Commission for a 3-year term to expire in December 2025. The reappointment of Aaron Piotrowski as chair of the Recreation Commission for a 3-year term to expire in December 2026. The reappointment of Jocelyn Brumbaugh as member of the Plan Commission for a 3-year term to expire in December 2026. The appointment of Dr. Irene Combs as chair of the Economic Development Commission for the balance of her term to expire in March 2024. The appointment of Taylor Robinson as a member of the Transportation and Safety Commission for a 3-year term to expire in November 2026. And finally, the appointment of Dennis Kelly as a member of the Economic Development Commission for a 3-year term to expire in November 2026. So we will revisit those again at our next meeting. Again, we're really, really fortunate to have such terrific community members. And I have nothing else, so with that, I will move on to Village Manager Bear.
Thank you. I just have a couple of items. The village hosted the annual Pumpkin Smash event again this year on Saturday, November 4th, coordinated by our very own Daisy Chavez. It was a success, as I'm sure you would guess. The total weight of the pumpkins collected was 8.75 tons. The containers were removed and taken for composting at Midwest Compost in West Chicago on Saturday around 1 p.m. So special thanks to LRS for donating the containers, the First Congregational Green Team, the St. John of the Cross Green Team who hosted us for the event, and the staff and volunteers who made this event so successful. So thank you, Daisy, for all your work. The holiday light recycling is now available in the Village Hall lobby. It's also available at the Thomas Ford Library and at the Village True Value Hardware. Residents can bring unwanted strings of lights, holiday lights in general, and leave them in the collection boxes at any location until January 31st. They are not to be placed in bags or other boxes, but details are on our website for anyone who wants more information. The village contractor is trimming village parkway trees beginning this week. Not all parkway trees are trimmed at this time due to seasonal inclinations of certain species, but trimming will take place in Old Town South, Ridge Acres, and Ridgewood. So please use caution when approaching an area where there is trimming work being done. It is quite an operation out there. So if you want to kind of check that out, I know they were on Grand today. I think they're in Old Town South all week. So the last thing I have is that these are the final weeks of the leaf collection, with all raked leaves required to be out no later than 6 p.m. on Sunday, November 26th. That's very important because our crews go through on Monday, and if someone puts leaves out in the curb line after that, they will block the drain. So please consider mulching leaves into your garden beds or mowing them back into the lawn whenever possible. As always, we would ask that if rain is expected, I would hope that homeowners consider clearing the storm drains and the curb lines to avoid street flooding. I don't know if you've seen, but some of these leaf piles are taking up half the street, so we're working as fast as we can to get out there. But if people could be very careful not to overload the streets, that would be great. And that is all I have.
Very good. Thank you very much. Attorney Jerusik.
No report tonight. Nothing more to add.
All right. Very good. Then do I have a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting?
That'd be my motion. During tonight's village board meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, very good. We are adjourned at 7:47. Thank you.
With a high school student here. I don't know if she has any questions.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, you too. Yeah. So, maybe you know or not, but
Well, it's very timely because
Fairfield recruits is
I don't know what
crazy.
list your
It's
kids
awesome.
get on.
Yeah.